I mean, I don't even consider myself young anymore. There's even been people commenting like, Max, I'm 30 now, Tornow, because I kept mentioning it once I turned 30. And here's, I think, a big reason that helped me push throughout my 20s, and that's really, really key. In my very first business, the dating advice business, I must have been 23, really in the beginning of my first year, when I was still an assistant, when I was not making any money. I was holding a seminar instead of Tyler, the guy who I assisted back then. And it was in Honolulu. So I was supposed to fly on a flight, and then he was supposed to come after me. And I was supposed to prepare everything like 4 hours before his flight would touch down, set up the seminar room. And of course he missed his flight. He used to miss all his flights. And he's like, I won't come on time, do the seminar for me. And he said, there's gonna be this other guy named Derek. And so you probably know Derek, many people know Derek in that field. And he's a very experienced guy. He was older than me, I think 10 years older than me or something like that. And I didn't know who it was or how he looked like. I just heard his stories, and I knew that he's a business owner. He owns like 2-3 businesses, did instructing on the side, did it as fun, and he was in that crowd. And I was supposed to talk for like 90 minutes and then introduce him without even knowing which one of the people in the crowd it is. And he would come on stage, and then he would do his part. And like I said, I was an assistant. I was unpaid. I was a young guy. I was there with shoes that weren't even mine and stuff like that. And and my first business was literally based on my passion. I had no idea about how to monetize it. I knew nothing. I didn't even know what the word revenue meant. I didn't know the difference between revenue and profit, because that bored the hell out of me. It was literally just me talking about my passion. That's all I did. That was the thing that I loved the most, and all my content was built upon that. And all the first clients that I got way before I became an assistant for that company, it was all just me being in forums and messaging people, and that's how I made my first couple thousand bucks a month. And which is the same strategy that we're teaching people in Freedom Business Mentoring now. And so anyways, I'm holding my speech and I'm passionate about it, and I'm taking some questions and I'm answering all that, and it was pretty good, like for a young guy. And then I'm introducing Derek. It was strange because I'm like, everybody give it up for my buddy Derek, like as if I knew him. I didn't even know how he looked like. And I saw this guy with like long hair and this like very stoic face, just like getting up, and I'm like, I think that's the guy, because there was around 80 people in the room. And I always look at people in the eyes a little bit, and I felt like there was this one guy who was staring at me like more intensely than the others, and it ended up that being Derek. And he gets up and he goes on stage, and he's like, and everybody was like applauding my speech, and they really seemed to dig it. And then he's like, it's cool that this young guy Max is crushing it so much, and I see you guys are digging that as well, and I hear that a lot. And at that point I was kind of starting to get known in the scene, and he's like, yeah, many consider you, Max, as like the new guy, the new thing, and the next big thing, and I agree with that. And I want to tell you something though. Everybody is now surprised, or is giving you props because you're so young and you're already crushing it. But I'm going to tell you something, Max. If you had the same type of delivery as a 35-year-old man, people wouldn't give a damn about it. Because as a 35-year-old man, you're supposed to have your complete life figured out. You're supposed to be making that money. You're supposed to do the things that you're doing right now. So it's great that you're already crushing it, and it's very impressive and blah, 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 and good props to you. But just to be aware of that, you cannot rest on your laurels. You have to keep pushing, because once you're at a certain age, people will expect you to have everything figured out in your life already. And that literally stayed with me until now. And now that I did turn 30 a couple months ago, this is in my brain more than ever. To just be like, you're right. And you should be using your 20s to figure out as much as you can, get amazing mentors, learn. And then by around 30, 35, you should be extremely well established. You should have all your plates spinning. For me specifically, my plates were fitness, my love life, and love and social life, and business. And I feel like that's what kept me driving throughout my 20s. And that is still in my brain. And now that I am 30, I feel like I'm pretty well established in those fields that I wanted to do. But obviously, there's just so much more. There's so much more to give. I have, like, on one hand, I feel like I'm well established and I've reached a lot of great things that I wanted to reach. But on the other hand, I feel like I'm just getting started. And energy-wise, I'm still feeling very good. Interestingly enough, what happened to me throughout my 20s, and again, I'm always talking about myself here, but I think it's something that many people can relate. My 20s, the recurring theme of my 20s was pushing over the boundaries. I really spent this decade to find how far I could humanly push my mentality, my brain, my focus, as well as my physical body. And I've stepped over these boundaries a handful of times and was very difficult to recover from that. I've had burnout in 2015, I think, 2014, 15, 16, something like that. And I had to deal with that and, had to recover a lot. And it took me about 2 years to really fully recover from that. And I think this is something that everybody should do. You should operate from a paradigm of pushing so much until you burn out, just to see how far you can push, just to know your limit, just to step outside of your comfort zone, as they say. And then in my 30s, the recurring theme is like, I know my boundaries now. Now if this is the ceiling, let me make sure I touch that ceiling. I just strafe that ceiling and not push through it. But the only way you can know you touch the ceiling only is by pushing through it at least once, and at least from my own experience. And that was an interesting thing. And what happened then is my first business just started from me wanting to build a legacy and share my passion. And then in 2016, I started making my first product, and that was an info product, something I keep bashing a lot nowadays. And back then, info products were the thing to do. And the info products that I've built were very, very great. I put my heart and soul into that, and people got a lot of great results. Later on, I found that there's an even better way to get people results, which is mentoring, online mentoring, ongoing online mentoring, which is what I'm doing now. And I built that info product, and until that point, so before I started collaborating with these guys that you might know me from, I started doing my own thing, and I made a couple low four-figure amount a month with that. Then I started making with them, 4K, 8,000, 9,000, sometimes 15K a month with them. And then I made that info product. I was 26-year-old, and just like from one swoop, within like 8 weeks, I just made my first million. Because until then, I had built the hype for the info product and just made my first million. And that is where I was then literally forced to switch that business thinking on in my brain, because I was like, wait a minute, like there's this money coming in, like you have to start delegating things. You should use that money to invest more in yourself. You should start expanding. And I'm like, oh, I guess I have to, I was literally forced into this business thing. I guess I have to figure that out. And until that point, I was never interested in anything business. It was always boring. It was a very dry topic for me. And then I started doing that. And it was fantastic. And for the first time, so that was 2016. And for the first time since around 2010, I felt that initial excitement for something that I had felt back then for my dating life. I was like, wow, this business thing and marketing, and then, you send people there, and then you get the engagement here, and then you use the sales, and then boom, you have the clients, and then you make sure they get results, so they give you great testimonials, and you give value, and it's this upward spiral. And my brain started firing all these new neurological connections, and it got really cool and really interesting. And then I just became more and more passionate about business. And I feel like people overestimate the amount of passion that they need in order to start something. I felt a lot of passion for it before I did it, and that was great. That's almost considered a bonus, but it's not necessary. The real passion I started feeling once I started getting results. And that's the truth with passion, with motivation, with any of this emotional thing that people think they need to have in order to build a business. It comes with results. When you're sitting at home, you're not making any money, you're not getting any clients, you're not helping anybody. It's hard to have a passion for that. Again, if you feel it, kudos to you, great bonus, GG. But you will feel passionate once you start feeling results. You start having money coming in, you start getting new clients, and you feeling like, hey, what I'm building here actually grows, right? It's hard to look at I have bonsai trees here behind the camera. It's hard to look at a barren soil, just like here's some dirt in there, and look at it and be passionate about the plant. But once there's a leaf coming out and now you start watering it, and 2 days later you see another leaf coming out, that's where you're like, oh my God, this is cool. You keep watering it, and then 3 leaves, and then the stem grows, and you watch it grow. That is where the real passion is. So if you're watching this and you feel, I don't know, I'm not passionate about something, everything is boring, all I want to do all day is smoke weed and scroll through memes all day, I don't have passion, don't let that discourage you. First off, flush that weed down the toilet. Second of all, start something, start seeing results, and then you feel the passion, because I feel what the biggest mistake is for people nowadays is they cannot connect the dots of work and satisfaction of work and the long-term gratification. They cannot connect the dots. All I feel that we feel nowadays is short-term gratification. I'm hungry, I eat, I get gratified, right? I'm thirsty, I drink, I get gratified. I'm bored, I go on YouTube, I watch some stupid cat video, I get gratified. With everything at our fingertips nowadays. If you want to know something, you go on goddamn Google, hey Siri, blah, blah, blah. How old is Bart Simpson? You instantly know it. What do we not get instantly nowadays? Yeah, Siri is like, I didn't quite get that. What do we not, what is it that we don't get instantly nowadays? Nothing. So we're so focused on instant gratification that we've completely lost being able to connect the dots. Hey, if I sit down, if I keep my head down and I grind it out for 8, 12 weeks, maybe then I start seeing results. Maybe then I start seeing the passion. But we have lost our ability to do that. Go on goddamn TikTok. Go on that stupid app. I'm on TikTok myself. You open that app. Just open it and it instantly starts showing you the feed, and it's all these 15-second videos, and it's just like cut, boom, next video, cut, boom, next video, cut, boom, next. Do you even know how that screws up your entire neurons in terms of dopamine? Do you even know how the dopamine is screwing up your brain? Look at your own behavior. Look at how the views drop of this video. You can literally see it of every video. And that's normal, by the way. You see people starting, and then within the first minute it drops, and then it stays steady. Because people cannot even maintain focus to watch a 10, 20, 30-minute video anymore. I feel it in myself. I'm 30 years old. I grew up without a cell phone. I grew up without an iPhone. The first smartphone that I had was in 2010 or something like that. And even for me, it's hard to not just get my phone out and just scroll mindlessly through Instagram. For me, it's hard, let alone for all the folks that are now 20 years old. They were born in 2000. They were born with an iPhone, with the iPad and whatnot. It's screwing up our brains. So of course, when you setting out there, you wanna build a business and you're working for 4 weeks and you haven't seen any results, of course, it's very rare that you start making money after 4 weeks. We have some clients who start making money after 3 weeks. We had one who made, I think, 10K in the first week or something like that. It's rare. Usually the first sales are starting to come in between the 10th and the 14th week, out of my own experience with our clients. Work on something for 10 weeks. If you're watching this video right now, look at your calendar. What date was it 10 weeks ago? How far away that actually is. So I challenge you, work on something for 10 weeks without feeling the sensation of gratification, without feeling the dopamine hitting you. If you have to acquire one skill in this world, completely outside of the business world, it is delaying your gratification. Write it down. This is really one of the most important parts of this first part of the video. Delay gratification. It's always those who are able to delay gratification who are the real winners out in this world. All right, the athletes, the Olympic gold winners, the millionaires, the people that have built something. All those people at the very base lies the skill of being able to delay gratification, because anything big that is worth building is not going to be built in a day. Rome wasn't built in a day, right? Famous saying. My first business wasn't built in a day. Our clients' businesses aren't built in a day. Like I said, it usually takes around 10 to 14 weeks for people to start seeing results, for people to start getting their first money in. All right? Again, there's always exceptions. There's people who make it before that. There's people who make it after that. But nothing big that's worth building is going to be built fast. And you know what? That's a good thing. That's a goddamn good thing, because it separates the suckers from those that are actually willing to go through the dirt in order to get there. And I like that. I love it when people come to me and say, oh, life is so hard. Building a business is so hard. First of all, it's easier than it has ever been before in the history of mankind with technology. I mean, you don't need connections, right? Back in the days, you needed to be connected to the nobility to build a goddamn business, to become a merchant. Not necessary anymore. You can be a complete nobody. You can have been growing up in a cave. You get out in your little cave cloth that you've built yourself from a deer that you've hunted. You can walk into a Starbucks, and somehow acquire a cell phone, or you go to the library and you use the internet there for free. You could theoretically build a business from that, right? You don't need capital anymore. Back in the days, you needed to source a price, you needed the capital, you needed investments. Doesn't need to be there anymore. You just need internet. That's all you need nowadays. And the internet's for free and it's all there. How amazing is that? You watch this video on the internet right now. It's easier than it has ever been before. All right? It's easier than it's ever been before. You have to realize that. But most importantly, it is good that it is still as quote unquote complicated or difficult as it is right now, because it separates the suckers who just want to make a quick buck and then screw off from those who actually want to build something legit. And this is something that I'm extremely proud of, if I may say that, if I may self-indulge in myself here. I'm extremely proud of the fact that we're helping our clients build something legit. Legit, that actually helps people. Because I could have been like, build a drop shipping store, right? What do you think is your drop shipping store going to do in 5 years from now? Right? There's so many drop shipping people out there that say like, oh, I'm making so and so much by drop shipping and so on and so forth. 90% of these people, they're sourcing some random whack products from China and selling it to people. Where's the real value in that? The long-term value in that? What is that business going to do 5 years from now? You still going to sell cheap products from China? There's no growth in that. You cannot build long-term brands that are with the clients that you're having. There's no long-term value with your clients. And of course, there's drop shipping that is being done properly, where you're selling a real valuable product, right? I have some colleagues who are doing proper e-commerce that is really focused on building a proper product. But what I like about the online coaching and the online service providing sphere is you're building a real connection to people, and you're growing these people, and you have these people around you for a very, very long time. And that's exactly the type of business that we're helping our clients to build. A legitimate business, not a flashy internet fad type of business that is just built on hype. No, we help them build an actual business. In German, we said the word Betrieb, einen richtigen Betrieb, yeah? A real legit business that actually makes legit amounts of money, gets legit clients, and makes sure that these clients are being supported and being given value to. And that's one of the things that I've always wanted to do, or at least ever since I started thinking about business. I never liked the idea of having just something quick and that just like makes me a couple $100 a month, and then I can, live in Thailand for like $800 a month or something like that. I wanted to build something legit, and I'm very happy to do that. And all right, she's just on the phone. So there was one interesting story that I wanted to mention, and that was one day I was in one of our offices, and it was a couple months ago, and I came into the office in the morning and I just grinded it out. I was, shooting videos, talking to clients, and my team members came in. My team members, a couple hours later, once it started getting dark, they went out, and I was like the last person in the office. And as I was getting out of my office room, I was walking through like the common area, and I just stood there in this room, and I looked outside the window. You can kind of like see a little bit the skyline of it. And I turned off the light, and I'm like, I've built this. Every single person in this company, every single video in this company that we've put out, every single client is there because I had that thought, I should start my own business. And I executed that thought relentlessly, and I chased that thought. And I never stopped chasing that thought until the very moment I stood there in the office in silence and that one fateful night. And talking about delayed gratification, that is the moment you want to live for. Did I ever think about, 5-6 years from now, I'm going to stay in my own office, and one of my offices even, and I'll have that thought? No, I didn't even think about that. I just thought I wanted to build something, and I don't care how long it's going to take. And you're going to make a lot of sacrifices along the way, mostly personal sacrifices. You might sacrifice comfort. You might sacrifice certain relationships, because there's going to be friends, family, and so on and so forth kind of calling you out and saying, you've changed and things like that. And that's okay. And funnily enough, many of the people that have criticized me, that have been in my social circle, sometimes even family, they criticize you on the way up, but once you are up, once you're well established, and once you've really proven yourself, they will come back and be like, I always knew it. And that's okay. I've never judged them for that or anything. Unfortunately, my family has always been very supportive. My immediate family, my brother, sister, and my parents. But, I've had uncles and aunts voicing the one or the other criticism. It took years, literally years, until I was well established. And again, delayed gratification, right? Because I could have gone the easy route and be like, I want to be liked by everybody. I cannot stand the pressure, but I had this dream and I wanted to pursue it. And then years later, they come up to me like, I'm so proud of you, Max, and I acted as if I never read these messages that they sent me, criticizing me, calling me stupid or whatnot. I act as if they never happened, because I realize even in the moment when they happen, people don't necessarily mean it. Oftentimes we have these pain body attacks where we are, this low vibrational energy, or just call it having a bad day, where we're just a little bit in a dark realm with our thoughts, that we do things that we don't necessarily mean. We say mean things. You've had it. I've had it. I've hurt people verbally, because I was not in a healthy mindset at that moment. I was maybe stressed, I was fearful, I felt hurt. So I understand that many times when people criticize, they come from a bad mind. But those criticizing words come from them in their worst state of mind, as opposed to coming from them in their best state of mind. And that's okay, because I think it's important to kind of realize everybody has bad days, and obviously it's something different if someone does it relentlessly over and over again. You might want to remove yourself from that person, but if it happens once or twice, that's okay, and I kind of accept that. And ultimately business is a journey as any other journey, and there's a lot of parallels to what I used to teach in the dating advice business. It's a lot about people, knowing people. Business is oftentimes something that attracts a lot of analytical thinkers. I mean, a lot of our clients are very numbers focused, very analytical thinkers, and then they kind of hit a glass ceiling when it comes to the human part of it. Because even if it's a highly, highly digitalized business, such as online coaching, online service providing, you'll be dealing with people. You'll be dealing with people on a surface level, meaning, how do you present yourself? What do you say? How do you close someone? How do you sell a product? You're selling it to a person, right? Even if you're selling it automated, like we're teaching to our beginner, our advanced clients, you're still selling it to a person. You have to understand, who are the people that you're selling to? Who are they? What are they thinking? What kind of words are they using? What do they want? What have they tried? What have they failed? Why? What disappoints them? What drives them, and so on and so forth. But also on a deeper level, you'll be dealing with people. You'll be dealing with yourself, with your own needs, your own excuses, your own mindset problems. But also later on, when you hire team members, employees, you'll be dealing with them. And what I really, really love the most about it is it helps you fix problems. It's a complete problem-solving thing. And having a business is literally non-stop problem solving. It's non-stop problem solving. You wake up, problem solving, problem solving, problem solving. And to be honest, that was a thing that I've cultivated with the dating advice thing. Funny enough, because it's also problems that you're solving. As a young man, you feel lonely, so you go into a bar, maybe with some friends, and you want to talk to a girl, but problem number one comes up, your knees are shaking. Problem number two comes up, you don't know what to say, and you literally fix one problem after the other. You force yourself to go talk to somebody, and you don't know what to say, so you ramble some random syllables, and it's always just like juggling. It's almost like you're learning to ride a bike. You're starting to tilt to the left, so you rudder it to the right. Now you tilt it to the right too much, and you somehow try to stay on the bike. And that's what I feel like is the case when you're building a business. You're just constantly solving problems. And when you're watching this right now, and you're in a situation where you feel like there's constantly problems that I have to solve, whether that is specifically for business, maybe you're running a business, you're starting a business, or it's just life throwing a lot of BS at you and you feel like you have to solve all these problems, you can do two things with that. You can, number one, let it beat you down until you're, metaphorically speaking, on the ground, crying and wobbling in self-victimhood, or you accept the challenge and you say, okay, anything that's thrown at me, I'll swing the bat, and sometimes I have to swing the bat furiously to kind of try to not get hit. But the more you do that, the more you start anticipating it. And then what happens is you get into a flow. You get into this wonderful flow where you get up, problem solved, problem solved, problem, can't solve it, other problem. Ooh, as you're trying to defend this one problem, like you solve some other problems with one hand, and here, wow, now you can solve that problem, and the next one, and the next one. And first of all, you grow through that immensely. I mean, the growth process is huge. This is something you don't see as a surface spectator. You're watching my YouTube or my Instagram, you don't see that as much. But on a deeper level, there's just growth happening every single day. Even for me, with multiple seven figures making with both of my businesses. But it's absolutely wonderful, and you get really good at that. And then, like I said, you get into this flow where you're just like, it's almost like you're Neo, defending all the hits. This is a wonderful metaphor. Do you remember that with there's a scene where Mr. Smith, is it Mr. Smith? The Agent Smith fighting him, and these agents are known to be these extremely good fighters, and then later on, as Neo accepted the challenge and he grew beyond himself, all of a sudden there's this epic scene where he starts defending with one arm, and that's how you start feeling, and you're like, whoa, I see the Matrix. And even today, I mean, you don't even know that yet. Like, I woke up and just a devastating message. This and that happened. So-and-so did this and this. This and that wrote this and that. And this used to beat me up for weeks. That pain when something bad happens used to sit in me for weeks. And nowadays, something even worse happens, and I'm just like, Neo defending it with one arm. And even if some really big thing happens, okay, then I'll use my second arm, and now I'll defend full force. And that is something I really love, because if you're watching this, by the way, I really appreciate that, and you're seeking to live a life with very few problems, I think that's the wrong focus. Don't seek to be living in a life where you don't get challenged. Seek to become Neo, who can defend with one arm, for whom these big problems are just yet another day to be solved, yet another day to be fighting through. Because ultimately, I prefer being strong and being able to defend myself than being weak and not even having the opportunity to defend myself, right? The weak person might sit in their comfort on the couch and have a good time, and I don't have to worry, nothing bad is happening to me. But ultimately, that person doesn't see the world, doesn't grow, doesn't experience the immense satisfaction of knowing there has been a challenge, and guess who did it? Guess who did overcome that challenge? Me, and nobody else. And that's a beautiful thing. And I do always say, get mentors, as many as you can, because ultimately, again, that's you being smart. right? That's you being smart. That's another lesson in of itself. That's another attack that you have to defend, because your ego might tell you, you should do it alone. Asking for help is stupid. You can do this alone. But ultimately, you have to learn to cultivate the humility of saying, look, this is where I am right now. There's people out there who are exactly where I want to be, who are ahead 5, 6, 7, 50 steps than me. I'm going to put my shield down and say, hey, can you help me? Because ultimately, you know deep inside yourself, if you peel away the layer of ego, it's actually better for you, objectively speaking, to ask for help, because you don't have to make many mistakes yourself. You can follow a proven path. And most importantly, you can do things much faster, because ultimately, there's only one thing that really matters in this world, and that is time. Everything else is infinite. You can make as much money as you want. If you don't have enough money, go make more. You're not the first person who has to figure out how to make money. I mean, this is what we teach our clients, how to make more money. It's there, it's a proven process. But the time spent can never be brought back to you. You want to be able to spend that time with your girlfriend, boyfriend, spouse, children, family. If I go back home and I see my parents, and I'm at a point now where my parents are about to turn 60. This is really a point where every time I see them, every couple months, I notice they've gotten older. And I don't know how old you are watching this, but if you can resonate with that, it's hard. It's hard to be like, mommy and daddy, you were always there, and I always thought you will always be there when I was a child. And growing up also means understanding, hey, people aren't going to be around all the time, including myself. And I think just being aware of the value of the moment and the fragility of life, of your life, of the life of loved ones, puts you in a position where all the ego is flushed away, all the surface level things are flushed away. When you really truly realize, hey, I could die at any moment. Maybe you've lost someone you've loved already. Maybe you've been yourself in a life-defining situation, in a near-death experience. Then you know what I'm talking about. And in those moments, nothing matters what so-and-so said about you and how unfairly you've been treated. All that you'll be looking back to is, did I live the life that I wanted to live? Did I risk the things that I needed to be risking? And did I have time with my loved ones? That is all that matters. And ultimately, as we're wrapping up this video, because we've got to go, that's all that matters. And that's why I still do what I'm doing. Even though I've made all the money that I want to make, bought all the nice things that I wanted to do, traveled to almost all the places that I've ever wanted to travel to, I'm still doing this because I feel I have a legacy to give. I feel I have knowledge to give to other people. I feel I have potential that has to be fulfilled with me. And last but not least, I feel like I have so much love to give to my parents, to my loved ones, to my friends, to my colleagues, to my clients, that I don't want to stop. I have so much more to give, and I know on a very deep level that I will give these things and that I will not stop until I've given it all. And I have given it all at the very moment I draw my last breath. This is why I'm still doing that, because it's the most goddamn fulfilling thing I've ever done in my life. And right now I don't see myself ever stopping. And if you were watching this video, I really, really appreciate you, really from the bottom of my heart. I would have never thought I'd do this with my first business, and I would have never thought I'd get to do that even more with my second business. Doing it once is good, but doing it twice, you really know that you're onto something here, and I really appreciate that. And there's no time where I don't appreciate the living hell out of my life and the fact that I get to share. And if you haven't done so yet, feel free to check out my Instagram account. I'm not even gonna give you any other call to action. If you have your phone in your hand and you're not following me on Instagram yet, go ahead and do so. I reply to all DMs. I'm posting even more stuff on there. I'm trying to be as transparent as possible, be kind of a counterweight to all the flashy social media stuff. You see me doing cool things, the traveling, the parties, and so on and so forth, but I also show the hard work that goes behind it. I mean, you just made a couple of stories that I'm going to post. I kind of want to be as transparent as possible and really show you, hey, delay your gratification, work on something until you can live the life that you want to be living. So much, much love. Thank you very much for everything. Talk soon.
Yo guys, I just cracked a few weeks ago 6K. Since joining the FBA, I'm very happy. I'm weight loss fitness coach. Before joining FBM, I got less clients than right now, and collaboration with them is better. Like the system that is present here is like fantastic. GG.